Good morning and welcome back to Too Ambitious. I am so happy that everyone is here joining me today. And guess what? If this is your first time joining this show, well, let me tell you what it's all about. I am Trish Lindo, and this is a series that celebrates Black women and women of color founders who are innovators, disruptors, and yes, as you probably have guessed, very, very ambitious. So today I have someone extraordinary on who is going to help us basically, level up our mental health, our well-being, because I think we can all agree we need a lot of that. So I'm excited to have Candy Calderon on Too Ambitious today. She's a certified holistic health and wellness coach, brain health professional, and speaker. Candy is the founder of the CEO Wellness Club, a wellness program and exclusive community for top founders, CEOs, and industry leaders ready to make wellness a priority. We love that. Now, Candy is a proud Dominican immigrant with an Afro-Indigenous Caribbean heritage, just like me. She is also an advocate for diversity and wellness. Candy holds a bachelor and a master's in business administration and is a graduate of the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. So she has all the knowledge that she's going to drop with us today. She's amazing. Please welcome the great, the wonderful Mrs. Candy Calderon. Hey.
Well, thank you so much for that incredible introduction. What can I say?
Of course.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
so welcome, Candy. I am so happy that you're here. This has been a long time in the making for us to do this. So I'm just going to jump right in because I have like a gazillion questions for you. But first let's learn a little bit about you. From what I researched on you, you were in corporate and doing very well, about 10 years ago, maybe more. You were working in corporate. So what was the catalyst that caused you to pivot to becoming the brain health and wellness expert that you are today?
I would say, I spent a long time in corporate America, which gives me a great insight as to how we behave when we are in the hamster
Mm.
wheel, right? With ambition, greed,
Yeah,
the hunger for
yeah.
success. It is very interested and very into wellness. I grew up a ballerina for the first 20 years of my life. I was a classic professional ballet dancer. So I was very in tune with my body, with taking care of my vehicle of life. But really the pivot, if you want to call it that, because I always say that we bring with us all the experiences and the knowledge that we accumulate along the
Right.
years. And but it was my family has a huge cancer history. My grandfather died of cancer. Two of my aunts died of
Mhm.
cancer. My mom had breast cancer, and when she was diagnosed, my grandfather, her dad, had passed away just a few years prior, and her breast cancer was very, very aggressive. Um, and my best friend, my everything. We are very, very close. And for me, just seeing that picture of maybe losing my mom to a similar disease as my grandfather. My grandfather had a prostate cancer that then metastasized to his lungs. And although my mom's cancer was different, it was breast cancer, but still is something that I knew it runs in my family. It's something that I needed to be really conscious of. And something sparked inside me. I became obsessed, Trish, but obsessed with learning everything that I could to help her heal, not only from her cancer, but also from the effects of chemo. Because people think it's only cancer. Yeah, we're healing, we're trying to help her heal cancer, but also the effects of chemo.
Right.
And never, of course, I want to be really, really specific with this, never negating the place and time that traditional medicine had. So she went through her chemo, she went through her everything that her doctors told her to do, but we also put in place a beautiful holistic program for her. Eliminating animal foods, juicing minimal processed foods, sugar out of the window, more juices, and the recovery was almost a miracle. My mom's cancer was very aggressive. Even her doctor said, "What are you doing?" And you have to understand
Yes.
that we are from the Caribbean. I'm Dominican, and especially when you're Dominican, but also you have your heritage is an Afro culture, like all the seasonings, the way we cook, all the processed
Right.
foods, all the oils. It was a very hard pivot in our family to change. And that's when I opened my eyes and I realized, of course, we're going to continue to get cancer because this is a lifestyle disease. I always teach my
Right.
clients genetic predisposition can be the pistol, but lifestyle is the trigger. And whenever I start with, trying to improve or change any of our conditions that we have, I always start with lifestyle. So for me, it was like very eye opening. And what I realized, Trish, also in this process is that had I not been bilingual, my mom would be dead today
Mhm.
because everything that I
Mm.
learned, every book that I read, everything that I learned back then empirically first, everything was in English. And my mom knows a little bit of
Mm.
English, but she's not very, those were things she was not going to learn by herself. And I
Right.
knew right
Right.
then and there that there was a niche, a space, a need for our community.
Yep.
But I knew that
Yep.
my calling was not necessarily women her age, but women our age, when we still have, more chances to make a change so we don't get to that point.
Right.
And then I
Yeah.
knew that I wanted to become a professional because obviously until that point everything that I learned was very empirically again, putting in place the things that I learned through books, seminars, and all of that stuff. And then that's when I decided to go back to school, nutrition school, and then my evolution into the space, the brain health space, also because of my mom, because as a cancer survivor who went through chemo, then she started exhibiting what we call chemo brain, which is cognitive decline as a consequence of
Right.
chemotherapy. It's almost like
Mhm.
insult on top of injury, right? You survive a cancer, now get some cognitive decline in there, right? And
Yeah.
we started having conversations. She started forgetting some of the things that she told me, repeating herself, forgetting names, and there's something going on here. And
Yeah.
that's when I knew that I wanted to the same passion that I had to help her heal her cancer and thrive, not only heal but thrive. Also, I wanted to evolve my career into the brain health space, because of
Mhm.
her same story. And that's when, that's how I got in a nutshell into the wellness space.
Yeah, unfortunately, that all had to happen, but, obviously, the outcome has been quite favorable, not only for your mom, but for you as well. How is your mom doing
Oh,
today?
she's thriving, and she is. And even she will tell you, even as painful as that was, the woman she is now is a complete, she has this hunger and this thirst for life. And it's just a different woman. And she's just so joyful, so full of life. And then thanks for asking. She's doing great.
I love that, and I'm sure she's, extraordinarily proud of you, for everything that you're doing, to get her well, but also too for your community and everything like that. When we talk about, taking care of our communities, the Black and Brown communities, we know the challenges that we face, and we're up against, and with especially with our healthcare system here in the U.S. You know, what were your thoughts when you were kind of beginning this journey? Was that some of your concerns that you wanted to address, by becoming the brain health and wellness expert?
Absolutely, especially because as we know, we don't have healthcare system, we have a sick care system. And for
Mhm.
women who look like you and I, and people in general in our community, the best bet is prevention, right? Because many times when it's like we start thinking about locking our doors when we're already being robbed. And what I wanted, the narrative that I wanted to change and the shift, it's how about we start thinking about our health before anything happens, just because I want to honor my vehicle of life. And in my case, focusing, of course, because of my work and what I do in our brain, like arguably our most important organ. If our brain is not working properly, anything else will work perfectly in our body, right? And what happens a lot with millennials, Gen Xers, and even Gen Z coming up there is that we think we're invincible. We think we have time. That's never going to be me. That's never going to happen to me. And what we see more and more is that younger and younger, we are exhibiting cognitive decline, and we chalk it up to the stress, we chalk it up to the grind. And we, especially as Black and brown women, we have been raised to be caretakers of everybody or extend ourselves. We take care of everybody, and then we leave ourselves for last. And sometimes when we start thinking about our own well-being, it's too late. So that's part of the narrative I wanted to help change.
Yeah, and it's so important for everyone, especially anybody who's listening. And obviously, if you have any questions for Candy Calderon, please, leave them in the chat. We'll answer them because she is highly knowledgeable about all things brain health and wellness. But when we talk about our health, in one of your posts, I read 1 in 7 younger people complain of memory problems. You also wrote in your post that says women are nearly twice as likely as men to develop Alzheimer's. And when you see that, you're like, what is happening? Why is that, happening, Candy?
Look, when we think about the fast pace of society nowadays, our brain was not created to be on 24/7, Trish. It wasn't. And when we see the fast pace we're now called to and bombarded with, we are consuming content 24/7. We are stressing with society, with work. There's so many things happening at the same time that is things that are triggering, not only physically, emotionally, but also in our actual organ, which is our brain, right? And then that's why we start seeing so many younger people. You mentioned this study that says that 1 to 7 millennials are already complaining from memory problems. And millennials, especially millennials, as the first generation who is supposed to live until they're in average until they're 100 years, we have a big problem in our hands, because you want to reach your hundreds when your brain out 20 years prior. That is not life. No. That is not life. And especially then you mentioned something very important that I made on LinkedIn about women being more prone to develop cognitive decline related illnesses than men. And this is simply because we're not equals. And as much as from a feminism and equality, discourse, we, of course, we're equals, but when it comes to biology, women are different than men. And we have hormone fluctuations that men do not, especially when you start, I will say, from your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, when you start your hormones start declining, you start getting closer to perimenopause and menopause, that estrogen, progesterone starts to decline, especially estrogen. Estrogen is one of the most important hormones, especially for our brain. And when you start thinking about women experiencing this brain fog, memory lapses, and then they're reaching, they're 35 plus, is not a surprise to me, because more and more also women are reaching perimenopause very early. Women in their 30s, when it was not even a thought up until your late 40s, maybe your 50s. Now we're seeing women reaching perimenopause and sometimes menopause before they even reach to 40. And when that happens, so your estrogen and your progesterone levels drop, especially I mentioned estrogen because it really protects our brain. And when you start producing less estrogen, you start seeing those pesky mood swings, your sleep is affected. And what is the main culprit behind cognitive decline? Lack of sleep. So obviously everything is connected. And if you add that, as I mentioned before, that we as women, we take care of everybody else before we start thinking about ourselves, we swipe under the rug all these symptoms until it's too late.
Yeah, I agree. Women, we are taught to show up for everybody else but ourselves. So which is, I would think that as we get more advanced in our technology, we would still have more time for ourselves. But that seems to have sort of taken steps back. It's made it even worse because there's even more things to do all the time. But when you talk about sleep, I know that's something really, really important for all of us to stay well all the time. Talk a little bit about, what it means to have a good sleep hygiene, and then also talk about some of the ways that we can improve it.
And it's so, oh my gosh, I cannot stress how important our sleep is. I read somewhere else, I need to go back and find, but it's like, don't ask people how they're doing, ask them how you're sleeping. It will give you more insights onto how they are doing. And especially, again, we go back and I know your audience is more mixed than mine, but my audience is very female oriented. And the disruptions in our sleep, not only because of the hormonal changes, but also those women who have families, that have kids, they're caretakers. There's a lot of things that will disrupt our sleep. But if we think only from a physiological standpoint, there's many things that will affect our sleep quality. And there is a very big difference, Trish, in sleeping and resting, right? Are you hitting your REM? REM is rapid eye movement, right? Where memories consolidate, or are you really going through deep sleep, or is your quiet time? Are you waking up many times, maybe to go pee, or maybe the famous, for women in perimenopause and menopause, the famous 3 to 4 a.m. window where women are waking up at that time. So I mentioned that sleep is the main one of the main culprits behind cognitive decline and cognitive decline related illnesses. And I wish, if there's anything that our audience is going to take away from our conversation, is that you cannot have a brain that is sharp, a brain that is thriving, and a brain that is strong now and in the future without proper sleep. And you mentioned sleep hygiene, which is so important because many of us just wing it. We really don't even, we're not even aware of the concept of sleep hygiene. And what we see is that we are exhibiting all these symptoms that are really cognitive wear and tear of how we've been behaving through the years. And what we don't know is that with simple sleep hygiene strategies, you can start improving your brain, which is never too late. I always tell people, you're not stuck with the brain you have right now. It's never too late to start healing your brain. And I'm going to go into the strategies in just a second, but our brain is so beautiful and so perfect. And there's something called neuroplasticity, which is the ability of our brain to really rewire itself and to heal itself. And we're not stuck with the brain that we have if your brain it's in a place that you're not happy with, right? And a sure way to start healing our brain is sleeping better. Now, for example, you'll say, Candy, okay, give me three strategies. I would say be very consistent with your sleep and wake cycles, because one of the things that I notice, especially with my coaching clients and my corporate clients, because this is part also of what I do. I work with organizations to help them, their team members, optimize their sleeps for peak performance. Team members who are sleep deprived or suffering from insomnia can never perform, never deliver at the level that a company needs, and the cost of the mistakes that a person who's sleep deprived, it's in the billions of dollars. So companies are really prioritizing that, and I've been lucky enough to help many organizations through that. So going back, be very consistent with the time that you go to bed and the time that you wake up. And you might ask, Candy, can I sleep in a little bit over the weekend? You can, but ideally you will want to stick to your schedule, because when you disrupt, if you had a really like testing week, stressful, and you need that little extra time, and you can, obviously, you cannot maybe 30 more minutes, 1 hour, but ideally stick to our body and our brain like consistency, right? Stick to and there's something called circadian rhythm, right? It's very, which is our wake sleep cycle. When we disrupt that, it also disrupts the rest of our day. Identify what your chronological type. Are you a morning person? Are you a night owl? I'm a night owl, and I know that.
I'm a night owl.
And I understand that. And I take strategies to help me wind down at night, because left to my own devices, it will be 2 a.m. and I will be fresh as a flower. So I would say after 6 p.m., start dimming your lights at home, in the room. For example, one strategy that I have and that I have implemented in my own home is that my bedroom has red warm lights. And after 6 p.m., I ask Alexa to switch the lights for me, and it'll switch to red lights. And what that does is that it does disrupt, it helps my brain to understand, hey, it's sundown. You need to start relaxing. And then my body start producing melatonin, which is a hormone that helps us sleep. A lot of people supplement melatonin because their body is so out of whack that they don't produce it naturally. So they never get to feel sleepy, right, at the time that they need to go to bed. But our body produces melatonin by itself if our body is imbalanced, right? It's balanced. So wind down, stick to your schedule, switch your lights to amber or red lights. Don't eat very late, at least 2 to 3 hours. You will be surprised how many of us have a big dinner and then go to bed. And of course, you're never going to be able to really have a deep sleep because your body is so on doing that digestion process, right? And focusing all that energy. And what it does is that it disrupts how we sleep and how deep we sleep, and obviously the quality of our sleep. Alcohol.
Yeah.
How many of us have a nightcap? A little
wine. Right. You hear that all the time. You hear people have a nightcap,
That is doing you a disservice, because although you'll feel like, yes, I feel, oh, my stress is going down. What alcohol does is that it gives you a momentary relaxing feeling, but your body processes that, then you are not able to live in a way that is stressful, right? Because to detox, because remember, alcohol is a toxin. Alcohol is a nuisance, and we need to call it as it is, right? So instead of maybe alcohol, drink a relaxing tea, chamomile, any type of maybe ginger tea. If you are a person that goes to the bathroom and wakes up to go to the bathroom many times per night at night, try to reduce liquid intake at least 1 or 2 hours before going to bed. And if you get thirsty, just do a sip of water, not too much, okay? It's simple things. Your temperature, how cool is your room, right? How cool is your room? There's a study, and this is not even me making it up. There's data out there that says that the ideal temperature to foster great sleep is between 60 to 67. Many of us sleep on 70, 72, 73. And of course, if you're not, when we are not in winter time, of course. So 60 to 67. Tell me yours. I'm sorry. What's your temperature?
I I prefer to be
Okay.
cooler before I go to sleep, so I usually have it set to maybe, like, around 70, but,
Drop it a
yeah,
few.
'cause I like to be
Yeah.
cold
So
almost to
drop
go to
it so
bed,
you can drop
you
it
know?
even further. And let me tell you, me
Oh,
coming from
okay.
the Caribbean, I was like, what are you talking about? It's not happening. But I realized that when I started having my temperature regulated to that, and I typically do 66 or 60, 67, knocked out.
Okay.
Knocked out of the, yes,
Game
game
changer.
changer.
Wow,
So those are
okay.
some, I don't want to overwhelm with too many strategies, but those are some of the lifestyle changes. See how I never mentioned doing any type of prescribed medicine or even supplements, because I always first teach lifestyle changes and crafting a
Yeah.
circadian friendly day. So when you get to the point that you need to go to bed, your body is ready to sleep.
Yes, and I love that, because I think our society is so used to taking pills for everything,
Everything.
but really really it's just about making those changes in your lifestyle, especially the ones that make sense for you, and again, we just wanna say it's different for everybody, obviously, for your parents, you've got, small children, that can change
Mhm.
how you sort of, navigate, your
Yeah.
sleep schedule and everything like that, so we completely understand that, so I just wanna say that. So Candy, you also mentioned, the work
Mhm.
that you do with the CEO Wellness Club. Tell us more about that, because that is the
Yeah.
crux of your work and your speaking engagements and everything like
Yes.
that, right?
So, as a brain health professional and wellness expert, I'm also the founder of CEO Wellness Club, as I mentioned, which is a company that offers brain health and sleep optimization programs. And I am so in love with the work that we do. It's actually one of the very few gamified brain health and sleep optimization programs, which means that it triggers that dopamine button in our brain that help us
Right.
activate the desire to go through the program and actually finish it, the reward system. And that's when and I work with individuals through my programs, both for brain optimization and
Okay.
sleep optimization, because remember that they go both hand in hand. You cannot optimize a brain when your body is sleep deprived. So it's a brain sleep optimization program. And through also CEO Wellness Club and my work, I also partner with organizations that are invested in prioritizing their workforce well-being, delivering my workshops and keynotes, focusing on brain health, sleep optimization, mental health, and mindfulness for teams. Because what we
Wow.
see day in and day out is that it's not only a nice thing to do for organizations, but it's also
Right.
strategic. Organizations that prioritize the well-being of their employees and team members have better ROIs, which at the
Yep.
end of the day is very important because companies are businesses. And
Exactly.
the morale, the culture of the company. And again, you cannot have a team that is productive if it is sleep deprived, if their
Right.
brains are not working properly, if their mental health is not thriving. I always like to differentiate what mental health and brain health, because mental health covers more the emotional aspect
Mhm.
of our brain's well-being, right? Whereas the brain health is covers the actual organ
Mhm.
and is the foundation for a thriving mental health. We cannot have thriving mental health without a brain that is thriving. Okay, so that's why
Mm.
it's so important, and why I always first of all say, let's heal your brain, and your mental health will follow suit. Of
Yeah.
course, again, I know there's so many people out there who have serious mental health conditions, need prescriptions, and that's totally okay.
Right.
We are very cognizant that there are mental health conditions that will not be fixed just because you sleep more
Right.
and just because you meditate more. We're talking about people who do not have active chronic mental health illnesses or active chronic um, brain health and cognitive decline illnesses. The work that I do, again, as we talk about it, is very on the prevention side.
Right.
People who already unfortunately have Alzheimer's, dementia, any type of brain health related illness.
Mm-hmm.
My work is not on that side. My work is more on the prevention side.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for making that distinction, and how long are these programs that when you're working with teams or individuals?
So I develop the programs based no one program is same as the other,
Okay.
because I meet with their organizations and gather the information where their team is at, the realities, the culture, what's going on, and I customize the program for them, right?
Okay.
It can be as quick as a workshop from 1.5 hours, 2 hours, or it can be a program that goes 8-12 weeks. So it depends what the organization wants. Also, individuals that work with me, that program is 8 weeks, and they go through, we do the challenge, and it's 8 weeks. Behavioral changes. Again, I want to make it very, very, very clear that I don't prescribe medication, and I don't work with people who have active chronic illnesses. For example, if you're a person who's suffering from sleep apnea, you need to be a medical doctor. If you're a person, if you're a person who is medicated for insomnia, you need to continue going to your doctor and your medication. If you're a person who's actively wanting to get off of insomnia medication, this is also not the time to work with me, because I work with people who are on the prevention side, that they know something needs to change, they want to improve, but they don't have any chronic illnesses active going on.
Got it. And so, we're coming up to time here, and man, I could talk to you easily for like 2 hours. Get my life all the way together. But what's one thing that everybody can do, like starting today, to improve their either brain health or their sleep hygiene?
I think we cover a little bit of the sleep hygiene tips. I want to say there's a myth out there that people think that they cannot create new neurons. There's something called neurogenesis, which means that is the new creation, the creation of new neurons, which means that you're helping your brain to create more neurons, which will help you be smarter, your brain to be healthier. How do we help our brain to create more neurons, right? By eating healthier, more brain-friendly foods like healthy fats, avocados, nuts, olive oil. For example, have you ever eat walnuts? It's so funny because they even look like small brains. Yeah, and they're very much. I mean, it's like the perfect nut for our brain. Blueberries. Especially among the berries, blueberries are one of my favorites for brain power. A great snack, walnuts and blueberries in the middle of the afternoon. It's a great snack, low calorie, antioxidants, good fats, leafy green. Hydration. When we are dehydrated, our brain not work. Have you ever tried to think properly when you're dehydrated? You can't.
You can't. Can't
do it. And I also always tell my clients, the same way you focus on exercising your body, you should be focused on exercising your brain. Our brain is also a muscle, right? It's an organ, but we need to exercise the muscle of our brain, and we need to challenge our brain. And nowadays, with all the cell phones, everything's so easy, it's like we're not challenging our brain to think anymore with all the ChatGPTs of the world. It's like everything is coming so easy. When was the last time, for example, that you learned a phone number by memory? Not happening, right? So, for example, a good challenge will be challenge yourself to learn 3 new phone numbers by memory. Challenge yourself to maybe take a new route without GPS. Another very fun, and I want you, Trish, to do this and then report back. Start writing with your non-dominant hand. Are you a righty or a lefty? Okay,
I'm a
so start
righty.
writing with your left
So,
hand and see what
okay.
happens is that when we write with our dominant hand, we do it by default. We're not thinking about it, right? But when we do it with our non-dominant hand, we're actually thinking about it, and it's triggering our brain and it's challenging our brain, right? And that's when the neurogenesis is
Ah,
happening, the wiring and
mm,
firing in our brain. You can brush your teeth,
right.
your non-dominant hand. You can brush your hair with
Yeah.
your non-dominant hand. Okay, those are great brain exercises. Dancing. I mean, you don't have to tell us that we're
Mm.
Caribbean in our blood, right?
I mean,
So
yeah. I'm fine with
dancing, and
dancing.
not
Say
just
less.
dancing for the sake
Yes.
of dancing, but dancing where you need to learn new steps. When you learn new things and you're challenging your brain to learn new things, remember what I told you, learn new phone numbers? You
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
again exercising your brain. So it's very important. So again, challenge your brain, work out your brain, exercise your brain. We talk about movement. Movement is so important, Trish, and we
Yeah.
live a life so sedentary. And maybe brisk walk. You don't
Yeah.
need to become an athlete all of a sudden, but maybe 20, 30 minutes, 3 times per week. That will help the
Yeah.
blood flow in your body and bring oxygen to our brain and nutrients to our brain, which we need so much, right? And then I meant, since we mentioned eating for your brain, those nutrients need to get
Right.
here, up here, right? And walking
Mm.
will help you to do that. Think about sedentary lifestyle is the enemy of our brain, right? So at least 3 times per
Yeah.
week, brisk walk. You see, it's more lifestyle. I remember what I mentioned. Genetic
Yeah.
predisposition can be the pistol, but lifestyle is the trigger. And that applies to cancer,
It
that applies to
is.
diabetes, that applies to heart health conditions, and that applies to our brain as well.
Yeah. All right, people, you heard it. It's time to make a lifestyle change. If you want to, live longer and live well, which I think is most important. And my final question to you, Candy, is do you consider yourself ambitious?
Well, I'm the daughter of immigrants, and you have to be ambitious. It's a yes or yes answer, right? It's a
Yes.
yes or yes,
Yes.
yes answer. But what I've worked very hard, Trish, the past few years is to marry my ambition with alignment, because what I
Mhm.
realized over the years is that my ambition was leading me astray, and part of my story is that me being a millennial, I experienced cognitive decline because I was sacrificing my sleep for the grind. I was sacrificing my nutrition for the grind, and very proudly
Mm.
so, because I needed to make it, right? The daughter of immigrants for us is the badge of
Yep.
honor, right? I'm ambitious, I'm making it, but at what cost? So right now, I mean,
Right.
me, myself, and what I also teach my clients is let's marry ambition with alignment. Does this ambition aligns with the life I want to live, with how long I want to live, with the
Mhm.
quality of life I want to live? And then if it aligns, then yes, I'm extra ambitious.
Yes, I love that. Such a great way to wrap up the show, but something to just kind of hold on to, especially for all of us out there that are very ambitious, and doing the
Yeah.
the grind, and trying to do it all the time. We have to have that alignment and to take better care of ourselves. Where
I
can
was
we
going to
find you,
say, yes,
Candy? Oh,
before I forget, because I wanted to do something very, very special for your community. Again, we said that, especially for us, this feels very aligned. Speaking of alignment, for us coming together and doing this. And I want to do something crazy for your community, right? And we talk
mm,
about sleep optimization so much for brain health. One of my most sought
mhm.
after workshops is actually the sleep optimization for peak performance and longevity. And I want
Okay.
to give access to your community to this workshop for free. So for everyone who's
Oh,
watching this either live or the replay, I'm going to give you
mhm.
a special link that is only for your community, so you can share with them
Mhm.
and they can have access to my next upcoming workshop, and they can sign up for
Okay.
free as a perk of being part of your community.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Candy. That's so nice of you. And so all of you, yes, we're going to get some good sleep
Yes.
after this, So this is amazing. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Yeah, share the special link with me and I'll definitely be sharing that with everyone so that you can access that because I think we all
Yeah.
can agree more sleep is the key to it all,
100%.
you know. Yes. So we can find you
Yes.
on LinkedIn, right? Is that it
Yes.
on your
Candy
website, right?
Calderon on LinkedIn and all other main social media, and CEO Wellness Club, my website. There's several forms there if you want to reach out to me or on LinkedIn. I'm here. I'll also keep an eye on the chat and the comments. If you have any questions, either now live or if you're watching the replay, I'll keep watching and answering as many questions as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, tag Candy, everyone, because she is the brain and wellness expert. Well, I want to thank you so much, Candy, for taking the time to join me to have this very, very important conversation about how we can take care of ourselves.
Thank
So
you for
thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you. Yeah, you're so welcome. And everyone, I hope that you learned so much from today's episode. I look forward to seeing you guys next time on another episode of Too Ambitious. So have a good day, and